Welcome to this edition of the Million Dollar Mastermind podcast. This is where we pick the brains of high achievers from all walks of life and get their hard-earned, real-world insights on winning. I'm your host, Larry Weidel. Hello, everyone. I'm talking with Samantha Kozuch. Is that right?
Yes, Kozuch? That's right. Perfect.
Okay. And Samantha has just moved from Los Angeles to beautiful suburban Austin, Texas, and is loving it.
Yes.
She left one of my favorite places, Marina del Rey in Los Angeles, and is now in another great place. And so living the life you wanted, you got to change the scenery. There's not much of a marina there in, outside of Austin, is there?
Well, we happen to just live on Lake Travis. So even though right now the lake levels are extremely low, we still have that nice, the water atmosphere out here. So kind of grateful for that.
Well, great. Yeah, there's something about being around the water and living near the water, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, there sure is.
So, Samantha, it's you have had a busy life. And in, I'm sure, all areas of life, but especially in your business life. And what's the story? What would you say? And you've got a podcast, you've got your e-commerce business, Maniscripting, which is not the same as manscaping or anything like that, I'm sure.
Definitely is not.
And so we'll get into all of that, but how did you get into the entrepreneurial thing? You probably, you've got modeling in your background, and you probably recognized as soon as you saw me, an ex-model as well. Just kidding. You probably see me on the runways in Milan and Rome.
I thought you looked familiar. I thought you looked familiar.
I get that all the time. But anyway, talk about what was in your head growing up that you think put you on this independent type track, because that's what I see in your thing is someone who has got a head on your shoulders. You're looking for bright, interesting, exciting things. I don't know about you, Samantha, but I am attracted by wow. When I was in growing up, we moved around a lot because my father was in the Air Force, and I was always attracted by the wow things, the interesting things, the exciting things, and easier to stay excited when you're doing something that inspires you. So as you were growing up, where did you get your light bulbs turned on?
Oh, that is a deep question that I don't think I've ever been asked so directly like this. But for me, growing up, I was first generation American, but my parents had first immigrated from Poland to Australia, where I was born and raised up until 12 years old. And then at 12 years old, we picked up and moved again to America. And I think with just seeing, since my parents were immigrants, I saw them, how they worked so hard and how they were always doing everything that they could to give my sister and I a better life. And it wasn't until end of college where I had this entrepreneurial bug kick in. And it was because my entire upbringing even from high school and in college, I was studying basically to go to med school. And then when I was in my senior year of that, when I've been working so hard for many years, to get all the education, all the credits, all the prereqs and all that from med school, I had this moment of wait a second, this isn't actually what I want to do. And it was such a confusing time in my life because when you spend so long being so dedicated to do something, and then all of a sudden it was just like this intuitional gut feeling where it's like, this isn't it. And from there, when I had told my parents that, hey, I'm not going to go to med school, I'm going to take a year off, quote unquote, and figure it out. Actually, I lied to them first, saying, I'm going to take a year off, study for the MCAT and all that sort of stuff and apply. And because to them, right, being immigrants, if
Right.
anyone here listening is a first generation child, like your parents want you to either be a doctor, a lawyer, or something super prestigious, right? Because they work so hard to make
Yeah.
such a good life for you. And for me, it finally clicked like that's not the way. And when I had this conversation with them, it was the unspoken kind of new rule of like, well, if you're not going to go to med school, we're no longer going to support you financially. Like I'm sure that they would, but they're like, you have to figure it out then because, we supported you this entire way and now you're not going to go do the thing. So you got to figure it out. And from there, that's when it lit that fire under my butt to be like, okay, well, I don't know what I'm going to do next, but my entire life, because I'm tall, I'm 5'10. I was always told, you should be a model. Why aren't you a model? Why don't you act? And that was always really intriguing to me. But at the same time, growing up, and my parents were pretty strict, they're like, no, you're not doing that. You're going to go to school, you're going to play sports, you're going to, do all those things.
Right.
So I started, doing that, which I became very successful at, so to speak. And then from there, it turned into, the social media space opened up with Instagram and Facebook. And all of a sudden, I was just posting videos and pictures from like working out. And all of a sudden, I was a fitness influencer before the word influencer even existed. So I was like, oh, I can make money out of this. And then people started asking me, oh, how did you
Now,
get
how
into
old were you?
Oh,
I mean, where was this? Was this
yeah.
after you dropped out of the med school?
So this
Okay,
was
well, let me dial
what?
back. Let me dial back for a minute. I'm curious. Uh, uh, what sports did you play?
I played basketball and ran track.
Really?
Yeah.
And so, did your teams win?
Oh yeah. 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 We were really good. I was even like growing up, like I was fastest girl at school in running. I had multiple even scholarship offers to go do that. And I had
You
actually
had all
tried.
those. You had those long legs from being
Yeah.
5'10".
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. 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 So I always had this drive to win, to be good, to get good grades, to work hard. Like that was my upbringing. Like if you work hard, like you're going to see results. So I really had that ingrained in me from a really young age.
It's amazing how many entrepreneurs got that start in high school in athletics. And uh, I used to say that I didn't have what it takes to go on and be a college athlete, but I did learn. Uh, I did have enough sports background to learn that winning is better than losing.
Sure it is. Yes, it is.
And winning one time is not good enough. And
Mhm.
so, no matter how many trophies you have, it's you've got your eye on that next one because you don't want to lose once you win. So you had the taste of winning, and something was percolating in your mind, which did not translate into endless, boring hours of study in dorms, and then had you're really smart to get out of that early. That we could tell people, take a lesson from Samantha. When your gut is telling you you're on the wrong track, pay attention to it because you're probably not going to do well going forward in that thing that your gut is rebelling against. And no matter how uh, tough it is to deal with the people around you and their expectations, or no matter how far are into it, is not. You may have feel like you've wasted some time in it, but it's probably not wasted time if you get on out when that instinct. Because the interesting thing is the instincts in you did not kick in a year early, or maybe, it kicked in after you had, that's the thing about making decisions and moving forward, Samantha. You got to keep moving forward. And even if you don't, I know so many people like they get stuck in life where I don't know where I want to live. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know this. Well, get the best choice according to your instinct, get your facts, and then call a shot. And then if it's not the best one, that'll put you in a position to realize the better one. I had a friend. I had a friend one time. He's building his dream home, and I said, the dream home. I said, the thing about the dream home is that you always think of other things to add. Because I used to build houses. I built 100 houses coming out of Georgia Tech, and He said, yeah, he said, the only thing I know is going to be better than the one I'm in now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And so you made a decision. And from that, it turned in basically, you pulled that out of your life. You created room where now other things could come in. How did you even think about the fitness and posting videos? And who made you an expert in working out? It probably you weren't an expert. You were good in sports, so maybe you learned some great techniques along the way, or had good coaching, or what?
Yeah. So this was back in what, 2005. I'm kind of even just dating myself a little bit. But from, yeah, 2005 to 2009, that's when I was in college. And so Facebook had just come out, Instagram had just started. So it was literally just, posting,
Yeah,
just like nothing what it is
right.
today. But because I had quit sports, that I literally, from like the time I could walk up until finishing school, I always had a coach. I was always told what to do, how to train. I never had to think for myself. So I dove into the fitness magazines. Like that was the thing. You order your fitness magazines, you follow the programs in those magazines. So I had to kind of reteach myself how to work out, get back in the gym. YouTube was like the big hot thing at that time with fitness videos and all that sort of stuff. So I just started learning that stuff. And then I would see these girls in the magazines. And I'm like, I want to be that fitness girl in the magazine. So that's what really, like, I saw this next goal of being wanting to do that and be that inspiration. And it all just kind of happened like naturally, even though I was doing things every single day to help achieve those goals. So I was published in fitness magazines. I did have the YouTube channel with the workouts and creating the programs and all that sort of stuff. And it was because I had the desire to do it and I just took action on it. So it all just happened at the end of the day. It feels like it just happened so naturally, but it's combining, that desire, that drive, and that taking action. It's going to give you results just by doing that, right? It's kind of like easier said than done.
But it's never a joyride to the top. So personally, what was the toughest thing for you personally? Not the business side, the personal side, where you had to deal with things. I say this because I'm fairly advanced down the road, and I still go through it. Where you have to make tough changes. You have to, like, things you were counting on, and you realize this is a lost cause, and you have to extricate yourself out of something that you had all your hopes and dreams about doing, or that was kind of part of your identity. But like, no, that's just not going to be an option anymore. And so, what were for you? What you know, in terms of the people you dealt with, the things that you had to commit to, what was the most uh, gut wrenching you say that you had to face?
Honestly, it was having to tell my parents that I wasn't going to go to med school because that was like, that's like at that age being so young, like those are the people that like you look up to, that, believe in you, that want the best for you. And just to like go through that experience and then feel like you were disappointing them and feeling like, they never said like really like you're making the worst decision of your life, like, you're stupid to do this, like, but I felt that they just didn't understand and get it. And
Yeah,
going through that, and that was for many years, I kind of struggled with that because I always then felt like I had to continue proving myself and proving myself. And that did drive me. Was it a healthy driver? I don't know, but it did get me to that next thing that I was doing. And then even from being in the fitness space to then at that point, like pivoting to the next thing and to the next thing. And then it got me to where I am today. And as you said earlier, you go through something like, for example, school, and then I built out a full social media. And then every time I pivot, most people think, well, that was such a waste of time that you spent so much time building it. But with every single decision that I made and every single piece of my career that I was in, I learned so many tools. I had so many different experiences that where I am today, Like I'm still using things that I learned, in college when I was studying pre-med, because what I'm teaching now, it has a lot of stuff to do with the human body. So just by having that foundation, like eventually it all comes full circle if you trust it.
Yeah, pivoting, speak to this. Pivoting is not quitting
No.
because a lot of times people will stay in what they're doing and I'm just not going to quit. It's a decision we all have to make. Like, am I going to give this more time? And maybe I'm just emotionally worn out because they're not quite over the top of the hill. If I stay on track, all of this can turn around. Or you come to the conclusion like, no, this is a lost cause. It's not even fun anymore. I don't have to give this up, but I want to give it up. And, I could do that, but I just don't want to do that. It's not going to turn out the way I thought. And that leads to a pivot versus a quit because you're keeping your momentum. You're just shifting your momentum in another direction. Speak about that for a minute.
Yeah. So pivoting, I've done it 3 or 4 major times over the last 10 years. And
Yeah.
every single time it was really scary to do because as you've built up a business and you're making that income and revenue, and then all of a sudden you pivot, it's a big dip that happens. It doesn't just continue growing, right? But what I learned over the last 10 years of these experiences is that every single time, as you're evolving and growing, you start to learn more about yourself, right? You start figuring out your purpose and what you are meant to do. And I was very in tune with that. And even though I didn't know that's what I did when I first, decided not to go to med school. I didn't understand that. I was very confused. But as I started going through a few years and feeling that experience again, like, hey, Sam, like, actually, like, this isn't what you're meant to be doing. You're meant to now go do this. Like, I followed my gut and intuition so many times that now, if it is ever to hit me again, it's like, I know this feeling and I know it's time to make a change. And it's so empowering. And I think a lot of people are so afraid to do it because of exactly what you said. Like, oh, I'm wasting time. Oh, well, it's so silly to give up this much income or revenue or salary in order to start over and pivot again. I put in so much time. But I think that's where most people hold themselves back in their fullest potential. Because on the other side of that, like every single time I have pivoted, I have trusted because one, I'm now, as I'm growing, right? You're changing. And that next pivot is just stepping more into alignment of what you are meant to do. And when you trust that and when you follow that, you're going to be successful. It might not be a success instantly, but just by being such in alignment with what you do, your purpose, you're passionate about it, you will be successful. So I have just fully learned to do that. And then this is what I also teach as well, because I know so many people that are currently miserable in their jobs or in their careers or in their businesses, and they do it for the money and they're afraid to take that next step. So I think really getting in tune with your gut feelings, and when you feel like, you know what, of course, there are things in every single business. We do that. It's not fun. It's mundane. It's the same things we do all the time. But if overall you're waking up excited every day, like that's how you should feel, is really excited and passionate about what you're doing, what you are putting out into the world. And as long as you're feeling that, like you're in a good place.
Yeah, everything's going to take work. Everything's going to be a drag at some point or another. And there's going to be reversals. But the thing is, are you getting any enjoyment, any satisfaction? And the reason you pivot is if you don't believe that there's something greater out there for you, and you have a high purpose in your life, you're not going to be as open to pursuing that because you're going to say, I better settle for this. Yeah, I'm lucky to have this. There's a limit to how far I can go. And when Elon Musk, and I'm, by the way, I'm not an e-car person, but anyway, he when he started Tesla, their inscription on their main headquarters is where he talked about open sourcing, and he believed, he wasn't going to keep this, information quiet. He wanted all kind of companies to get into that industry, and his, it's the abundance mentality. That it's not, there's room at the top. It's crowded at the bottom, but there is room at the top. There's a lot of exciting opportunities at the top. And there's no advantage in not going for bigger, better, faster, taller, and quicker. And, that's where the excitement in life is. Now, as when you're doing that, you become a certain magnetism to yourself. And it's obvious that you have been able to create and carry your magnetism through all your different activities because of people, following you and interested in what you have to say. And so, on the other hand, you can look at your track record and say, this woman just cannot be still. I mean, she doesn't have a clue what she wants to do. She goes here, she goes there. And you feel like you found, something that can last a while, I would imagine.
For those of you who are sick and tired of fooling around and are dead serious about wanting to move up fast, I've got something especially for you. I've combined the best insights from over 40 years in business and making $70 million in income and compressed them into a free webinar. That's right, it's a free resource. If you want to find out exactly what the concepts are that I use in coaching million-dollar earners, register now at WeidelOnWinning.com. You'll discover the 5-part framework used by so many to reach their financial, personal, and professional goals. You can find that link in this episode's show notes.
Now, so talk about what led you to do what you're doing right now, and I'll let you describe it and tell everybody.
Yeah. So as coming off of being this fitness influencer and in this space, right? So I went from being the fitness stuff, people asking me how to work out. Then it turned into, hey, Sam, how did you grow your social media? How are you getting these sponsorship deals? How did you create the workbook that you sell? And then it was like, okay, entrepreneurial bug again of like, well, I keep getting these questions. I could totally teach people how to do this. So then it turned into being a social media coach. Then from there, people that weren't influencers are not interested in being an influencer. They wanted to grow their accounts for their business or learn how to start a business like I did. Okay, then I pivoted once again to being an online business coach because I knew how to do all of that stuff. I'd been doing it at this point for like 6 years. So I did that. And then up until when the pandemic hit is when I saw my community panic, right? Because I'm here teaching people how to make money online, basically, how to set up their
Right.
businesses. They're panicking or they had side hustles and they're now people are losing their jobs, their income, they're stressing out. They're like, we all were, right? It was a traumatic thing that happened to the world. So I just started sharing my morning routine, and that's journaling, just staying focused, meditation, how I created vision boards, how I really set up myself every single day to keep my eyes on the prize, like keep on going, just like I did my entire life, whether it was, competing in sports or, wanting to be in the fitness magazines, like that was all like ingrained in me for so long of like, stay on track, stay focused, no matter what's going on and people doubting you, all these sorts of things, right? So I just started talking about that on social media, on Instagram stories. And then people asking me, hey, Sam, like, where can I download these journal prompts? And I'm like, I don't have a download for this. Like I'm just sharing my personal thing. And then once again, it was that intuitional gut feeling. It was like, you have something here. You have something here and you need to share it with the world because what you have done throughout your entire life, people don't do that on a daily basis. People don't think about their goals every single day. People definitely don't reflect on their days or what they want to accomplish or get super clear on what it is that they actually want. And also deal with the things that were traumatic experiences or limiting beliefs, stuff like that, that is holding them back from their truest potential. So immediately I felt that again, that, oh gosh, here is that gut feeling. It's that pivot feeling. And I was making really good money as an online business coach. And I'm like, here I am. This needs to be a physical product. I don't know anything about e-commerce. I've never done anything remotely close to manufacturing, shipping, inventory, any of that stuff, right? But I'm like, I'm going to figure it out because this needs to be birthed into the world. So immediately I just dove straight head first into that, creating a kind of a sample journal. I got like 20, 30 girls into a little group that were interested. I was like, okay, you guys need to test this. Like, it works for me. Will it work for you? Sure enough, every single woman in that cohort had exceptional results in 30 days. I'm like, that's it. We're going to manufacture. And I just literally YouTube, listen to podcasts on e-commerce. I just infused myself into that space, learned it all, had first couple thousand journals manufactured within, I think, 3 months, started selling them, and I never looked back. And here we are almost 3 years later. And now I'm at a point in my life where I am fully in alignment with what I'm doing. I'm obsessed with this company. I'm obsessed with what it's doing for right now. We just have a journal for women. A men's journal is coming early next year, but I'm just so in love with what I am doing. And I know that every single thing that I had done throughout my career, from being the influencer, learning how to manage social media, learning how to build an online business, you can never connect the dots forward to where I am today. But looking back, nothing was a waste of time. Everything that I did has equipped me to be the founder of an e-commerce business today that is just impacting the world in such a positive way.
Now, how many of you sold? How did the sales go? Because you hadn't done this before.
Yeah. The first sales were great. I think within the first year, it was like, okay, we did not hit six figures in revenue our first year. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But here's the difference. If this was me in a different space, like as an online business coach or in social media, stuff like that, that would have looked like a failure to me.
Uh-huh.
But what was really cool was to hear the feedback on this journal that women were having. And for that, like, my driving factor was like, it wasn't even at the money about that at that point. It was like, this is a concept that's proven. I know what it takes when you're first like starting a new company or a brand or anything like that. It's going to take time to build. I had things to learn as a founder. I'm actually grateful that we didn't even break six figures in our first year, because I had so many lessons that I needed to learn before we could blow up and go really big. So that's kind of how it all went down.
That perspective probably came from early experiences you had, but when you're starting business, you're always uh, uh, out of time, out of money, and wishing you had all of the venture capitalists just pouring the money at you. But the deal is, you don't always recognize how stupid you really are in your first year or two, and how likely you are to make stupid decisions based off lack of information and experience. You know what I'm saying? You don't always have the best advisors with you that will come around later. You'll be able to find, that's part of growing in the business, to find what do other people do, who advises in this work, what are smart business practices. And it's easy to get caught up in the tyranny of the moment and running around there and spending money here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like software. If you ever hear of a software company, they just blow through so much money because they're trying to figure it out as they go, and they can have a great idea, get it all built out and say, oh, that didn't work. But then, as hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars later, they say, okay, now we're going to go this way. And they're going to pivot, but that money is burned. And if you're a venture capitalist, you'd like for them to be a little bit more judicious in making those decisions and find out a little quicker. Now, you did that. What would you, let me ask you this. What can you think of is a dumb thing you might have done that would have been costly early on had you had more success and had more money? Can you think about that? Something you learned not to do, but it was like your second year or after you were down the road a little further.
Yeah, I think if our first year, if we had more money, because we're still self-funded, bootstrapped company. And our first year, if I had more money to put into it, I probably would have bought way more inventory than I needed out of that first manufacturing thing. And
Right.
let me tell you, it's interesting. Getting that first shipment of journals, even like I thought it was like the greatest thing on earth, right? And so did everybody else. But seeing what the journal is today, like it's evolved, it's like gotten better, it gets better and better with each production run. But there were mistakes in that journal, even though it had multiple people read it. So we had lots of like different little mini misprints throughout it. So that would have been a big thing with just like over purchasing journals that just were not 100%. That would have been bad. We probably would have poured a lot into advertising, which at that time, like again, I as a founder didn't yet have the space and the capacity to hold space for this many customers, right? It was just me. I was packing and shipping the packages every single day for I think a year and a half. Like I just didn't have we didn't have the space, we didn't have the setups, we didn't have the systems in place, like nothing. So I think I would have just blown through that cash so quickly without understanding and learning parts of the business that needed to be understood in order to scale it and make it, the quote unquote success that it is today.
Well, allow you to staff up for one thing. And, you know, if it's any encouragement, Jeff Bezos talks about when he got started, they were shipping things out of his garage, and it was him and one other guy.
Yeah.
And he said one day he had the great idea, a light bulb, lightning, it's like unbelievable. The angels, clouds parted, the angels sang. He had this new revolutionary idea, and he turned to his second in command and he said, I've got it. I figured it out, how we can improve our shipping. He said, knee pads. He said, rather than be on the concrete on our knees, we can get knee pads. And, and the guy looked at him and said, I've got a better idea. How about tables?
Yeah. Oh,
But he tells that story on himself, like out of humble beginnings, breakthroughs like that. If he could have bought knee pads for everybody, and then someone said, well, how about tables? And then you throw the knee pads in the trash.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's just those kind of basic type things you don't even think of until you get in the flow. And the longer you postpone getting in the flow and jumping in, you delay those kind of revelations. But now, as you have moved forward, so how has sales gone now?
Fantastic. We are, 3 years later, and now we're doing multiple million revenue per year. So
That's in 3 years to multiple million in revenue from this book you created to journal. So this is a book. You're selling a little journal, hard copy, but nobody uses hard. Are you writing an app?
no, it
you're
is
not.
more. No.
Tell me why you're not doing an app. Why you're doing why the journal is more important than the app.
Yeah. So for one thing, we are so connected to these things, right? We are on our phones 24/7. We're on a laptop. We're in everything, right? And then what happens there? You pick up your phone, you get a notification, you open up Instagram, you open up your email, you open up your text messages. Within 2 seconds, you're gone, right? You're gone. So the reason for doing a physical product is the morning routine should be disconnected. You should be unplugged. It's the first thing you should be doing when you wake up. Open up your journal. Let's tap into this first. And when it comes with chasing your dreams or creating your new life or whatever that is, right? The last thing you want to do is open up your cell phone first thing or computer and start being impacted by everything else that's flooding in, right? Like you want to get your mind right first. So having this journal, and it's a beautiful, beautiful journal. It's spiral bound. It's got gold accents or holographic silver accents on it. It feels so luxurious. So just to even start with that, just opening it up, and you have different prompts every single day. It takes about 5-10 minutes a day, depending how long you want to write in it. But just by going there, and the first thing it kicks off is like, that gratitude, the affirmations, your daily habits, the 3 things that you're going to take action on that day in order to get you closer to your goals. And then just like journaling out all of those things that are going well or that you desire and all of those things. It's putting that into your mind first, because that way your mindset, if it's in that place starting the day, you're going to take action on that. You're going to use that to make decisions, whether you feel like doing things or not. It's like, wait a minute, this morning I wrote down, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Like, I'm going to stay committed to that. So having this beautiful morning process of just like taking that, 5, 10, 15 minutes for yourself to just get your mind right is so, so powerful. And then just writing it down when your mind, your eyes, your brain see you writing things down, like you're going to be more likely to go after that and accomplish those goals too.
I'm going to have to get one of your, what do you call it? Manuscript? A manuscript?
Journal. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to have to get one of these and try. I use a online app, but what I do find is you're right. And I've got it all. You can populate it the way you want. You have templates and this, that, and the other. It's pretty darn elaborate. However, you're right. You get on there, and before you get started in the morning, it's like, let me check the news because if the aliens invaded the White House last night, I don't want to hear about it from someone else. I want to find that out, or
Yeah.
if something tragic happened, I at least want to be aware of that. But then I'll find out, then what pops up is Britney Spears did something here, and it's like, what?
Right.
And then you're off to something over here. Justin Timberlake says that's ridiculous. And then all of a sudden you got at least a minute or two. It's like, wait a minute, this is not why I went.
Yeah. And you're lucky if it's a minute or two. Yeah. And you're lucky if it's a minute or two. Usually it's like 5, 10, 15. All of a sudden 30 minutes, an hour is gone. And you're like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing with my life? So, yeah.
Yeah, because the news media knows they can keep you if they hook you on all this craziness, the nonsense. But all I want is the news. But then, no, it doesn't work like that. And then the other side of it, of course, is to know that down through the years, the people who have been, the phrase I heard earlier about here, Samantha, is you've got to be specific to be dynamic. And so that's why I've always been, and coaches, the great thing about athletics is you have a season. You have a season. And then you have games in that season. And then you have a preseason. And then you have, you cycle, you got to divide it all out there. And the elite coaches have, like Dean Smith at University of North Carolina, his practices were organized down to the minute. Those players went in there because they only had so much time to get college players that the NCAA would allow for practice. And they had it down to the minute. And Roy Williams, who was his assistant coach, when every player went in every day, every player at the front of their locker had a list of how it's going to go, what they were supposed to be doing, what their role was, and organized. And so and they had that ready day by day for every player before the season started. And so, and then you hear things about journaling from like, I'm sure you use this with Leonardo da Vinci. He had 1,500 pages of notebooks. And they were he probably had 500 words at least on and diagrams on every page. So it wasn't like he wrote, I heard a great joke today. It was really detailed information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so you've got history on your side, you got logic on your side. So I'm gonna have to get one of your manuscript and play with that. But why did you? Let me ask you this. Usually, there's good reasons and bad reasons for people making major. Why did you leave Marina Del Rey? Tell me the real reason. Tell me the real reason.
The real reason? I don't know if I could. Real reason is
we're on it. We're just friends. It's just me and you. We're just nobody's gonna hear this.
I'd lived in LA for 9 years.
Look at that expression on your face. I tell you.
I lived in LA for 9 years.
I have touched a nerve. Go ahead.
It was a great, I moved there for a reason, to take on modeling and acting, was successful in that. And then It brought me to meet my fiance there. And I loved, like, my dream was always to live at the beach. And, you know, when the pandemic hit, everything changed. Everything changed out there. And it was, it was just that, again, had to follow my gut and intuition. It was time for us to go explore, live somewhere else. And we ended up here. But LA will be a big place in my heart forever.
Well,
And
you polished it up, you finessed it. You should think about a career in politics. But what would you say changed for you that you said, okay, there's got to be something better for me? And then why Austin of all places? So what changed?
what changed?
What did you start noticing? What started to get not as happy as it was before?
Honestly,
That
how
you
people
that you can actually tell the world,
how people treated each other out there.
talk
You
about
know,
that. Talk
yeah,
about that.
how people treated each other. And for example, like,
With-
we lived on the beach, right? We lived on the
Right.
beach. We walk the beach, very
Yeah.
amazing, beautiful, clean, fresh air. And
Yeah.
for multiple years, you'd be out there just walking your dog, having fun, and people would walk by and yell at you and be really mean to you about, where's your mask? Where's your
Right.
mask? What are you doing? And it's like, we are out here and on the ocean air, which is the most
There's a
healing
breeze.
part. There's a
There's a
breeze.
breeze.
Like, you're like 50 million yards away from me. And this was happening all the time, to be honest. And
Wow.
it was just that. It was just this constant. And, even after mandates were lifted, people were still very just not nice, like walking into stores and stuff like that. It's like, oh, it was just, and we're not in alignment with a lot of that stuff, to be honest. And being from a place of, being very holistic and knowing how to heal your body and all these other things, and just seeing when your eyes are truly open, when you're awake to what's really going on, it's like, it's really hard to be in an environment like that 24/7, where you're in a good mood leaving your house, and the second you step outside, someone's all up in your face. And it's like, all right, it's time to go. But I really did feel like that chapter of my life was wrapped up. I feel like I kind of squeezed everything that I could out of LA with the purpose and intention that I had. And we decided, it's like, all right, it's time to go. It's time to move. And actually, we were wanting to move to Florida. And for over a year, we were looking at places in Florida because we're very much beach people. And we took many trips out there and just could not find the place that's like
Uh-huh.
good, that
Yeah.
like, oh, this feels
You should
great.
have called me. You should have called me, Samantha. I could have helped you.
No, I should have called you. Well, maybe soon, because I know we love Austin. I know it's probably not our forever home. I don't know where
Right.
that next would be. But all I did at that point, and this comes back to like your goals, your dreams, your visions, and being super clear on what it is that you want, I decided to just get on Zillow and type in all the specs for the house that I wanted, and just zoomed out on the map of America, because we're at this point really like, we got to go. We got to go somewhere. We got to get
Yeah.
out of here. We gotta continue with everything here. And I zoomed out, and then I just started zooming in on different pockets. And all of a sudden, like, even though a lot of our friends had moved to Austin, or people that we knew, a lot of people came here, right? Especially from LA. But that wasn't a reason why we chose here. I just like literally found this one house here in Austin. It looked amazing in the pictures, had all the specs that we wanted. We wanted more space. We wanted land. We wanted to be out in the country, out of the city. Like, I had lived in the city for so long. It's very energetically draining. We wanted to breathe the fresh air, not see neighbors, have our dog, have Milo, our dog, to be able to run around freely. And I zoomed in on this one house, and it had everything. And we're like, let's go check it out. So we got on a flight like a couple of days later, came to check it out to make sure it was real and legit.
Right.
And then signed the paperwork that day, and within a week we had our entire place packed up on a
Oh.
container to come here, and we just did it. It was that, again, what we've been talking about this entire podcast, that intuitional gut, that feeling that let's do it. Because at the end of the day, like, say you do make a decision, whether it's moving, whether it's quitting your job, career, whatever, if you hate it, if it sucks, if it doesn't work out, you can always go back. We know we can always move back to LA if we wanted to, or somewhere else, but you'll never know the potential and the success and the happiness if you don't try. So we just trusted our gut and we love it here. We are so happy here.
Well, what you did was you got away from a toxic situation, and what those people, what the pandemic did was allow people that are naturally nasty and mean permission to be nasty and bossy and mean and act like Gestapo agents. And even in Aspen, the mountains, the breeze, and the health, and this, that, the other. Uh, there was one woman that one of my therapists told me about. She would walk around with her dog on the sidewalks and he goes, 6 feet, 6 feet, 6 feet. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
You're 50 feet away from me. Why you say, what are you talking about, you idiot? And then I actually stopped skiing on Aspen Mountain because I went up 2 times. And one time they were yelling at this. I found that when they're yelling at someone next to you, the poison gets on you too. But they were yelling at this nice little lady, like she was 80 years old, but she had the mask here. She didn't have it up here. The nostrils were covered, but what else? And this guy's screaming at her. We're in the line to go up the gondola. And we had no idea whether it turned around and finally figured out it was like, something about that. But the toxin gets on you if you got people screaming. And it happened 2 or 3 times up there. I said, I'm off the mountain because I come out here. I live out here for fun, happy, regenerating. Skiing is, miraculous experience. And I don't want to have that poison forever, And so I'm off the mountain. I'm just not going to expose myself to that toxin. And if you find yourself in that kind of toxic environment, one person can ruin things for you. If it's in a company or if it's a neighborhood or whatever, but move. I mean, you can't, killing them does not really pay off, folks. That's a temptation. You want to just, I'll just eliminate them. No, you can't eliminate them, but you can eliminate you, and you don't have to. And I think one thing, Samantha, a lot of us don't realize what that was. Well, that's verbal bullying. People, you're being bullied. It's just like someone's hitting you with a stick, but they're doing it with words. And until you're aware of that concept, it takes you a while to pick up like what's happening here. But for whatever reason, if you're in a situation where your people, people feel empowered to go ahead and be bullying to you, like neighbors in your condo association or in your, your apartment building or in your neighborhood, you don't have to stay there. There's a lot of happy, pleasant people in the world, and get out and look. And so that's what you did. And I'm happy for you doing that and removing that toxin out of your life, because now you can go back, down the road. Marina Del Rey in LA was not ruined forever, but it might have been ruined forever had you continued to be exposed to that,
Right.
And so, I'm happy. So the thing is, our environment, you hear attitude is everything, environment is everything. And you've got to make the choices that put yourself in a position and a geography, in an occupation with support people to where you can be your best. And if there's any toxicity or poison in there, you got to get rid of it. I mean, there's some people that we have listening to this podcast. There are people in their life they've got to eliminate from their circle of friends. However, you've got to get them out. You don't have to allow yourself to be imposed upon the rest of your life, because your number one priority is to be productive and pursue your destiny. And that's where you're going to make an impact. And if they come in and are constantly pouring on water to put out your inspiration and your fire, they got to go. Don't you think? Do you see that?
100%, right? Like we know the saying, like you're the like combination of the 5 people that you hang out with. I think it goes way beyond that. It is, your immediate family, friends, your surroundings, your environment, that all is a combination. Like I think about it now, just as you're saying all this, It's like, isn't it interesting? The first year in the business, we didn't hit six figures. And granted, it was a new company, but also the stuff that I was dealing with on a daily basis in my life during that period of time was a lot of negativity. And you
Right.
can't just ignore all of that. Like, you can't just be like, well, I'm just going to be immune to being bullied or immune to the hate or immune to any of the stuff. Like, it's going to affect you. But isn't it
Going to,
interesting after moving to Austin, where I'm feeling great every day? I'm taking care of myself. I can go out freely without being scared. Oh, who's going to yell at me today? Or who's going to be an asshole today? Right. It's
yeah,
like, I'm feeling good every single day. And isn't that interesting that all of a sudden the business, like, 10x, right?
yeah.
10x so quickly. So it all plays an effect. And what you just said, like, I can't stress it enough. And of course, there's some people, like, for example, family members, like if you live with your family, that's hard. And if they're toxic, that's hard to get away from. Limit the exposure, move out. Like, you can remove yourself from these places and you can remove certain people from your life. And you don't have to be like, oh, I can't hang out with you anymore. You're toxic. It's just no, you start making, different plans. You start just limiting your time. Don't go out with them every time they invite you. Go do something
There's,
else.
yeah,
It's
right.
so
There's
easy
ways
to do.
of, use your brain. There's ways of avoiding that, filling up your schedule. And, uh, because they've got problems that is not yours. You just can't let their problems be yours. And when you do the journal, what have you noticed from your journaling, your manuscript, and talking to people about that, the interaction, that what comes up more, like you say, people are doing great and everything. What are the kind of improvements in people can kind of guess some of this? They're getting specific, they're getting more organized. But what have you noticed from your vantage point the biggest advantage for people who get involved in this activity, and why is it so advantageous for them to spend that 5 or 10, 15 minutes to kick off the day like this? How does it transform? What do you hear from your end?
Like 100% of the time, someone that's used the journal for at least a week, even, it is, holy crap, my mindset, my mood has drastically changed. Because all of a sudden they went from, being impacted every single day or spiraling in their own negative thoughts to, oh my God, I can do this. I am the creator of my life. I can take the steps to make changes. So the mindset shift is huge. And that's like, if you think about it, every single day, it's not that we're battling the outside factors. We're battling this between our
Yeah,
ears, right? Like, this is our biggest battle, because
yeah,
this tells us exactly how to think, how to feel, how to react, all of that. So when we can get our minds right, like, that's what
yeah,
makes you truly unstoppable. So that's the biggest thing that I hear. And then of course, when you're in that positive mindset, that's when you start taking the action. And then guess what happens when you take the action? That's when you start seeing results. That's when you see success. Like, so it's this ripple effect of really starting with, the whole journal is about, like, achieve your dream life, like manifest your dream life, achieve your goals and all that. But honestly, like, that's just the hook, because that's what people want. But ultimately, it's the self-development, it's the mindset shifts that happen in here that make the external changes and results.
well, I think we all want to do great things with our life, and that means you're going to, be performing at an elite level. And you hear this in sports all the time, that what separates the elite people, like in golf, the top 140 players in the world that are qualified for the PGA Tour, they'll say that 120 of them have the fundamentals on the swing down to be in the top five, but what separates them is what's going on in their mind. That's why when we're in athletics, all the time we had coaches were telling, get out of your own way, but we don't know what that means. But the battle for really the top elite performance in everything comes into what's going on in your head. I used to tell all of our uh, leaders that the rest of your life, you're going to be your biggest enemy. It's not going to be things. It's not going to be, we're all worried about the Middle East. We're worried about politics. We're worried about this. But in our life, the thing that we need to be focusing on is ourselves. And the thing is that journal can help in the manuscript, it can help you keep coming back and centering on that, that you stay organized. What's the priorities? What, matters most to you about, what comes to you that you feel like needs to be done today, and what can you move? How can you move the needle for? I always say that success is not guaranteed, but one thing you can do is continue to stack the odds of success in your favor. You can start changing it percentage wise and keep doing that. And eventually, while it's not guaranteed, it will be inevitable, And so, you can influence results by your behavior, but not if you don't stay on track. And that's why I think you're on to continue to make a bigger and bigger impact with this. And so I'm happy you found it. What do you find out on your, so when I say that to you, all of that, blah, 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 I'm really endorsing what you're doing. How does that resonate with you? Because you live this life.
Yeah. That's exactly 100% of it. And I just wish, and my wish for like humanity in general is to somehow learn this and apply it to their life, because every single day, there are tragedies happening, there's things happening that are not great. And, you know, that all just lowers our energy, our frequency, our thought, our drive, all of that. And really just learning to take care of yourself, right? Like mentally, emotionally, all of that. Because I truly believe that everyone on this planet, on this earth, has some sort of gift and purpose to share.
Right.
But most people don't ever wake up enough to tap into it.
Yeah.
And that's the real shame. So everyone has their light. And I just hope by them tapping back into themselves and clearing out all the junk and really tapping into their true purpose and getting their mind right, we could create some really beautiful things on this planet.
Well, that's why, the daily journaling and manuscripting is so important, because there's only so much you can change or so much that you can absorb and process on any given time. And so doing it, making it an everyday, what I find is that people in their life, they either do something all the time or never.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's like if you want to play the guitar, if you're going to be really good, you got to play it every day. You got to, it's got to be an everyday type thing. And even people like Eric Clapton will say that if he doesn't pick up the guitar for several days, it's just, it takes him a while to get back into it. Tiger Woods, at the peak of his career, would say that if he got involved in traveling and some events, and it was 2 weeks, he was 2 weeks away from the golf course. When he came back, he would be a 20 handicapper for about a week or 10 days before he worked his way back into the groove. And so whatever you're going to be elite at, you got to do every day. And that's why this falls right in line with that, because you don't expect too much of yourself. You don't expect an overnight change. But I don't know if you've used this, but it's the thing that if you improve 1%, like 1% better every day, it doesn't seem like much, but over a month, a year, it just is astronomical. And people are saying, how did you change? What did you do? Well, you're just doing one extra, and it adds up. So as you go, how long have you been doing your podcast?
Only a couple months. Just finally launched it. So brand new.
What was your thought behind the podcast? And, how did you put it together? And what's your experience from 2 months in?
Yes. So most people ask me, like, why did you wait so long to start one? Like, you're so good at everything else with social media, with building a business, like all these, like, old sorts of tech and everything. And I waited so long because I didn't have the time and space for it. As you know, podcasting, people think, oh, you're just recording a video. There's so much behind the scenes that goes into it, with planning, with organizing. And it's something that you have to be, like what you said, it's a consistency, right? Like, you got to put out an episode every single week, whether you bulk record or not, but it's a big commitment. So with me starting it, I was finally ready to jump on a new platform and start sharing different things about my life. It's called Money Mindset and Manicures. It could have been called Maniscripting. And I was like, well, I don't want to just talk to a certain type of group of people, right? Like, I really want to share a lot of things throughout my life. So that's why it's called Money Mindset Manicures, because we talk about really like so many different things. And just diving into it, podcasting for me, as crazy it is to maybe hear, it was a scary platform to jump into because it's a
Oh
different
yeah.
space. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
your voice, right?
Yeah.
It's totally different. And even though I have been doing lives, I have spoken on stages, I've been interviewed on podcasts, like I've done it for so long, but it was really interesting that stepping into podcasting was really scary for me. And then that's when I dove in. I was like, that means I need to do it because I always, when I want to do something and there's fear behind it, it's like, okay, you need to overcome this fear. Let's dive into why that fear is there. And then as I put out the first few episodes, I was like, oh my gosh, what are people going to think? Are they going to love it? Are they going to hate it? Am I going to be canceled? This, that, and the other, right? Like just all these emotions. And sure enough, the feedback's been amazing. And it's something that I really love to do because unlike watching a YouTube video or watching a live or reels or Instagram stories, like I love that I can connect. And this is the one thing that I've heard back from my audience, and I'm sure maybe you have as well, is that when you can speak to someone for an hour, hour and a half, even if it's a 20-minute quickie episode, uh, they love the intimacy feeling of it. And I always get the feedback of, oh my gosh, Sam, I love these episodes. Like I feel like my best friend is talking to me. And you are able to connect with your audience on such a deeper level, which makes me really excited. And that's what I love about podcasting, because I'm a huge podcast listener. Like I love listening to podcasts, especially when I'm driving or on a walk, or even when I'm just like cleaning the house and just like have one playing in the background. I truly love it. So my inspiration behind it is to create a further impact and help inspire people and teach people, their true purpose and how to go after those things that they want through my episodes.
Now, on your podcast, do you have guests, or are you the talk? Are you the talker?
So far to date, it's just been me. That's how I wanted to launch it. I really wanted to like hone my skill as a host. Like I mentioned, like
Uh
it's a
huh.
little bit different than everything. But there will be guest interviews coming in the next coming months. So by
So, what did
January,
you talk? What did you talk about last time?
this last episode that actually releasing this week, it was all for solo entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs. I get a lot of questions from newbie entrepreneurs on how did you start your business? Like, what are the key things that you did? What did you not do? So it was just a really fact-based kind of my
Well,
story plus things that I would and would not do.
let's give them a preview. So, what were the big takeaways that you wanted them to get from that? That how much scripting did you do before you started, or did you just start off the top of your head, have a few notes, and just take off?
I always kind of script the structure of the episode because I'm
That's what
one
I
that
do.
I
Yeah.
could talk for hours on any sort of topic that I'm passionate about. So I always give myself some structure with some main bullet points, and then I, go off script. I'm not sitting there reading any sort of thing that I've pre-written. But the top things for entrepreneurship is the first one is, and because this is what I hear all the time, it's like I'm not seeing the success, I'm not seeing the results. And it's a reminder that it's going to take time and consistency. We live in a world right now where social media shows the highlights. It shows people having quote unquote overnight success.
Yep.
And people get really discouraged if within the first month they're not making 10K, or within the first year of launching their business, they're not breaking six figures. They think they're a failure. And I shared a lot of my stories and reasonings. It's like, well, look at that entrepreneur that's sharing, oh, whether they did a 10K month or 100K month, I guarantee you behind that, oh, this was my first month in business, I did this. They have a ton of quote unquote failed businesses. They have a ton of failed launches. They have a ton of previous experience where now all of a sudden they're doing this one and they're like, I made it. Right.
Yeah.
So I think even though social media is so inspirational, it is also so discouraging for the newbie that thinks that's how it should happen for them. And then they get discouraged and
Yeah.
they want to quit and give up because it didn't happen that way. So I
Yeah.
really love to shine the light on the truth of like, hey, it's going to take consistency. You have to show up every freaking day, even when nobody's watching, nobody's liking, no one's buying. Like you have to keep going. I had plenty of days in my first year where we didn't make any sales. Did it stop me? No. Did it make me think, oh, is this the right thing? Of course. But I knew deep down inside I had to do it. And when you create a company or a business with a full alignment, and this is another thing that I see a lot, people starting businesses because they see so many other people on social media doing it. And they think, oh, all these people are successful. That means if I start it, I'm going to be successful too. So they're chasing the wrong goal or mission because they see others doing it, thinking they can do
Right.
it too. And even as a coach, I saw all the time at the beginning of a cohort, I had, a class of whether it was 10 or 15 or 5 or whatever. I would see right away who was going to be a success and who was here just thinking they could go through this program, launch something, and make a lot of money. I knew who had the real heart in it and who didn't. So, really coming back to that, like, what's your true purpose? Like, what is it that you really want to do? What are you actually chasing, if anything? And understanding that it all comes down to consistency. It all comes down to putting those systems in place. And if you don't have the drive, like a lot of us have our visionaries, right? So we have the vision, we have the thing, but we don't know how to implement the systems and put those things in place. Okay, if you're one of those types of people, you would be the one that maybe has to hire a coach or hire help in order to put those systems in place. So really just sharing a lot of like the real truths, especially with starting manuscripting, because that was a pure example of, hey, I started this from zero experience even. Like I've been in the shoes of like really understanding nothing about this type of industry. And those were the things that I did. So that's the episode that's coming out next on
Well,
it.
like when I don't play video games, but you remember what was it? Angry Birds. That was just a sensation. It
Yeah.
was everybody played Angry Birds,
Yeah.
and I would always think to myself, boy, whoever wrote that really hit it big. Like wow, they hit the jackpot. I'm thinking of Jackpot because I've got a huge painting downstairs that we decided to name Jackpot. But anyway, they hit the jackpot, and oh, then I found out that this was a company out of the Netherlands or someplace up there cold, and they had 59 other games out
Wow. I didn't know that, but
before
wow.
before Angry Birds hit. So it wasn't like, oh,
Yeah.
Bobby and Charlie thought of this great game and they just got lucky. No,
Wow.
no, they had a big, business coders, 2 or 3 floors of this big building, and they hit, but they were good at it. The deal
Yeah.
is,
Yeah. And that gives me the chills just hearing that because one, I didn't know that backstory. And just a pure example of like the work that goes behind and the stories we don't know and the things that we don't see behind the scenes that are happening before
right.
someone makes it big, right? Like
Yeah.
that's unbelievable. That's cool.
Yeah. And there's a lot about being an entrepreneur where you just have to have the stomach to be bad before you can earn the right to be good. In fact, I was on the driving range at a golf course in some resort in Puerto Rico at a convention one time, and I overheard the golf pro giving this lady a lesson next to me, and he said, "Your ability to become a great golfer is based off your ability to stomach being hitting bad shots for a long, long time."
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. It's so true.
And so the thing that I find offensive about you is you started not knowing anything and then you figured it out. I'm one of those people that I've got to have someone at least give me some clues. I've got to have, once I get some clues, I've got to have some role models, uh, that I can pick up generally how they did it, and then maybe get it, have a conversation with them, pick their brain a little bit, and then I try and use their ideas to go out and beat them. Because the way I look at it, if they did it first, they're showing me the model, they're giving me the insights. I ought to be able to beat them, because they already went first. They hacked the path through the jungle already for me. So I should be able to get through it faster. But when you start fresh like that, and the one thing is you got to be able to test ideas because you don't know what is going to work and what's not going to work. How did you just right out of the bat, I guess, because out of your own experience, put out your journal based off what you knew worked for you? Or did you said you had a group of 10 to 20 people that you tested it on. How did that, did you do that first or what?
Yes. The first thing that I did, because not only did I want to test the product, but also I just wanted to see like, were people really interested, or am I just kind of like seeing random DMs and not going to hear about this again? So it was kind of a two-part process with getting kind of a list of people. Hey, apply to be in this cohort. Let's see how much interest there is, and there was decent amount. And then putting all those women in the group, and I literally just said, you're going to do this for free. You're basically going to get a month of quote unquote, not even coaching, but just a month. Please use this every day. And then every single Sunday, we had a Zoom call where I would get on the call with these ladies and be like, what's going on? How's the week been? How have you seen any changes? I would just ask them questions for feedback. And then that's how I started learning, like, okay, they love this. This works, all these sorts of things. So that's how it all started. And then from there, I was like, cool, I have enough proof in the pudding right now to create the first journal, go to manufacture the first journal. And that's how it got started. That's what I did.
Now, did you do that from your email list? You just sent out an email to your existing list of subscribers and said, I've got a new, I'm putting together a pilot project. And if you want to get involved, how did you do that?
Yeah, actually, I didn't use my email list. I just promoted it on social media because my
Did you?
email list, like that was very specific, right? That was for, even though it was like, I totally could have, but that was like, people wanting to be a business coach and all these sorts of things. And even though this would have been great for them, I had a big following. So my current Instagram is a brand new Instagram account. I had a previous Instagram that had like 60,000 whatever followers. So I just put it out there first, asking everyone, regardless if you were interested in working with me or not. But I put it out there.
I love how you toss that off. Oh, 60,000 on my Instagram. Yeah, I've got that too. And that's because I'm a former model myself.
Yes.
Wow, 60,000 on your Instagram account. And then you just started a whole new one.
Yeah. When I started this company, I had made that decision of, you know what? Because that Instagram account, like that was forever, like so old. I'd gone through so many pivots on that account too. And I just made the personal decision of like, you know what? It's time to start fresh. I have evolved. I have grown. People followed me on that account, when I was in the fitness space and, when I was like bikini modeling and that sort of stuff. Like I wanted a fresh start. And I basically just said to that account, hey, if you want to continue with my journey, like come follow me over here. And if not, cool, that's fine. Like goodbye and good luck.
How much live speaking have you done? And did you enjoy it?
Done quite a bit. And I love it. I love it. There's something so magical being in a room with actual like humans right there in front of you, to be able to see their expression, see their energy change, like meet them afterwards if possible. But doing live speaking it's one of my favorite things to do.
And what do you find the main message that you try and you'll go into an event like that? What's the main point that you want them to walk out with when it's over? Because we're always lucky when we speak, if they remember us at all, or if they remember what if they get one main takeaway from everybody they listen to in speaking, that's a lot. And so what do you try and impact people with the most when you're live?
Yeah, 99% of the time, it is literally just driving in the point like you are the creator of your reality. You have the power to change it if you don't like it. And listening to your gut and intuition. Like those are the three main points. And like after every single time I speak, it's like just like even though to me these points just seem very basic, but to a
Right.
lot of people it's just like these mind blowing revelations where it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm the creator. Like it's super empowering. So just to empower people with knowing and understanding, like you don't have to do what you were told by society, by your parents, by
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z, right? Like, no, like you have a purpose on this planet and learn to tap into that and understand that if there's something that you don't like about your life, you can change it. You don't have to be stuck there.
And so those three again is that you are the creator of your world. Go through them real quick again. So,
You are the creator of your reality. Um, one that, what were the other two? I always lose track. You're the creator of your reality.
you do what I do. Forget. Since you're much younger than me, that's very encouraging. Now I'm starting to like you. I've had so many things not to like you for, but now I'm starting to like you.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're the creator of the reality. If you don't like something about your life, like you truly have the power to change it and
Right.
then following your gut and intuition.
There you go. You remembered it. You're,
There we go.
you're
It's like
there.
a
You,
great
you have a
talent.
few years. You have a few years left before you lose your mind. Good for you.
Yeah. Oh
Hey,
my
this has
God.
been a lot of fun. Appreciate you having
Thank you so much.
having us share all of this with you, and we'll put the links to your website and your journal and all that. I always let my guests have the final word, and for the people listening, and so, what do you want them to take away from this?
Thank you so much, Larry. One thing I want to take away, and it's literally comes down to those 3 points that I just shared. Like, truly, like you have a purpose on this planet. You have a light to shine. Don't let someone dim your light. Follow your intuition. It is the most powerful brain that you have. Go after what you want. And if you don't like something about your life, you do have the power to change it. I promise.
Yeah. And the thing that I'd like to add is that don't feel like this is you being selfish. This
Yeah.
is you being responsible for your life
Yes.
and the talent and time and knowledge, everything that you've been given so that you can be productive with it. And there's nobody else in the world who knows what is right for you at any given moment better than you. And so that's why you need to be it's not that, worry about stepping on people's toes, but you've got to be assertive about getting yourself in a situation where you can be productive doing things that you're excited about. And if you don't have a knack for doing it in the beginning, you will develop a knack for it because you're going to spend so much time doing it. And most things are not that hard to do. It's a matter of, it's hard when you don't know. But when I look like things are hard, like I can't get through that door. God almighty, I can't get through that door. But then someone gives you a key and you stick the key and turn the thing and, I'm through the door. I just didn't
Exactly.
have the key.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
knew all I needed was a key? And so that's what hopefully people are going to get from this, some keys that they can use to unlock doors, move forward in their life. It's been a lot of fun, Samantha. When you get
Thank
sick of Austin now, you guys are going to have to call me and I'll tell you about Florida. Okay.
Yes, please do. I will definitely give you a call.
All right. Thanks so much. Good luck with your podcast and your journal, your manuscript.
Thank you so much, Larry. This was so great.
Look forward to next time. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Million Dollar Mastermind podcast. Commit to your personal and professional evolution with our free training video. It's designed not just as an educational session, but as a transformative journey for those bold enough to aim for the stars. This isn't just any webinar. It's a roadmap to achieving the extraordinary. It's tailored for those who dare to dream big, and yes, it is completely free. Join us in a network of ambitious professionals ready to take their careers to new heights. Secure your spot now at WeidelOnWinning.com, and let's unlock your potential together. Thanks for being part of this community.